Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 11 of Trigun. And man, last episode I was feeling a little down in the dumps by the time I had to take a little break between the reactions and discussions, but I'm feeling much better, and I'm really excited about this episode because I was so happy that Wolfwood immediately came back into the story last episode. I was worried after episode 9. I was like, oh man, we're not gonna see Wolfwood for a while, but he came back, and now he's basically part of the party. So I'm a little worried for Meryl because she seems like, oh god, there's two of them. But you know what? Maybe Vash can be for Meryl and Wolfwood can be for Millie, since he used her as a pillow a few episodes ago. I'd be fine with that double date, that's for sure. But yeah, so we get slowly but surely little tiny bits and pieces that there's more to Wolfwood than meets the eye, there's more to Vash than meets the eye, there's more to this world than meets the eye. We have all these major cities named after months. We have secret ancient technology that's barely being scratched the surface of being explained. We're nearing the halfway point of the series. Episode 13 will be like the halfway point, so we've got a little bit of time before then. But it's pretty much been, for being episode 11 at this point, we're still steeped in a lot of mystery with this show, and I like that. I like the show's not giving us too much up front. It's just letting it kind of seep in. It's letting it kind of just soak, and we're just slowly like a sponge soaking up whatever it gives us. So I'm really curious about that. So I guess we'll find out what happens, right? But I want to give a quick shout out over to our Patreon patrons over on the philanthropy tier, as well as our Patreons in general. So thank you guys for supporting me on Patreon. It really means a lot. It helps me to keep doing this because I got to pay taxes now on all this. So it helps me to keep doing what I like doing and pay for the manga and the streaming services and everything. So I really, really appreciate all of your support. But a special shout out over to the philanthropy tier for these individuals that do such a great job in supporting me doing what I love doing. So quick shout out. I've got a list, but you guys can see them all here. We have Edgar, we have Dana, we have Anime Annie, we have Alex Cornejo, we have Be Happy, our moderator, we have Kiri, we have Librarian of Lang, Shimoyama, Truck, as well as Nameless Monster, Tyrone, Anime Annie, Eric, Kuba Lutek, Sunspots, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. And you all know all of my love. Thank you all so much. You guys are amazing. So yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time. I want to dive right into episode 11, see what happens. And we're getting close to the halfway point. So it's like, show what you going to do, right? Usually even an anime in the 90s, it knows around the halfway point that there's got to be some kind of conflict come up, right? So is it going to be this episode or next episode? That's the question. Are we going to set it up here? What are we going to do? All right, Huck, you got to lay down, buddy, and not bother me with the ball. Lay down. He listens about as well as Vash to Meryl. So we're going to start this, y'all, and see what happens here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go, y'all. Well, I was not expecting that episode. I'm so sad Wolfwood's going away. No, of course he's going away right at the halfway point. Of course he is. Of course he is. He has to go on his soul-searching quest. I'm like, you better come back, damn it, because you're too cool to leave, which we just got done talking about that, and I'm like, damn it, okay. I had to bring White Board Coon out because there's a lot of info in this episode. There's a lot of character development. There's a lot of things talked about. Yeah, last episode was this fun gunslinger tournament, Robin Hood style. Everything's all fun and dandy, and this episode kind of starts out like that, and then suddenly gets into this big existential crisis, and it's like, wait, what? And seeing sides of Vash and Wolfwood and Millie and Meryl and getting Julius and Moore, which kind of seems like Romeo and Juliet, doesn't it? Because Julius, Juliet, Moore. When I think of Moore, I think of the trellis where he's like, oh, wherefore art thou, Juliet? And it's like the Moore is like a garden sort of maybe, and I guess you could rearrange the letters of Moore to be Romeo. I guess it's an anagram, right? You could do that. You could rearrange the letters, right? So they are basically Romeo and Juliet. But this is an interesting episode. Now, I think the episode episode, it plays it really safe at the end because for a moment I was like, is Vash going to literally kill them? I don't think he will. That doesn't seem in character for Vash at all. He's here for peace and love, right? But Vash is a great actor. Like, he's an actor. He is ready to just make it to where he will let you believe, which makes me interested knowing what else is Vash really good at acting, right? What else is he hiding, right? But for a second I was like, is Vash really going to kill somebody? I don't think he will. It's like totally against his prerogative. But we get this idea that he had to make it look real so that the caravan would leave. But I feel like they got off kind of safe at the end, that it all just happened to work out where the mayor was like, oh no, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, y'all got off real easy with this, right? You guys got out really safe. I thought this was going to get a lot darker than it did. So I was like, okay, we're going to let you guys off the hook. But it was our first little kind of toe into, ooh, these waters are going to be a little bit deep. So let's get into this episode. The idea with these geysers that are going off, these like hot springs that are coming up from underground, which is really interesting, right? There's a whole bunch of them. And they say, haven't the Demi's lad sprays stopped yet? So some world building things. We're going to put world building up here. And we have this idea of Demi slad sprays. They're like geysers. These geysers of boiling water. And I feel like we're going to go back to those. Have they not stopped yet? And so we have this caravan, right? This caravan of all these people gathered. The Bob Saloon with the dancer and like the makeshift tents and everything. Looking like a traveling band, right? Have a drink and chill out. They'll stop before you know it. And then we have Wolfwood. So Wolfwood, I guess, has been trying to, I guess after last episode, Wolfwood did leave the three of them and like went on his own way, but he just happens to fall right back in line with Vash. He just can't get away from Vash and Millie, can he? Just can't get away from them. And he gets stuck playing. I like that it's chess of all things, that instead of cards, they're playing chess. I love the cat, like, stops him from making a move. The cat's like, no, like, stops him from cheating. That's absolutely hilarious. I love it so much. And he's like, I bet my riding fare on this. And then we have Millie. And Millie shows up looking for pudding. I love the bartender's expression. He's like, a simple look around will tell you we don't serve that kind of stuff here. Like, it's the funniest damn thing, the way he says it. He's like, this is a bar, man. We don't have pudding. But Millie. So, I'll put Millie up here. Talk about Millie. I love Millie Thompson. Millie Thompson, she is the youngest of 10 siblings. Of course she is. She is the youngest sister of all, right? But she always wants to help those in need. I'm like, does Millie have a tragic backstory lurking in the distance? We don't know, right? But I just love how she's so like, well, why don't you have pudding? You know, why wouldn't you at this bar? And this man was like, sir. And then, of course, she's not only a badass, a beautiful person, a friend, she's also a queen of chess who helps him out in one move. I'm like, yes, please. I absolutely love it. She's like, oh, Mr. Priest, what are you doing here? Meryl and Vash are with me as well. And, of course, they're like, Vash to Stampede. And then that's when she makes the move that saves him in the chess match. And he's like, well, I'll be damned. She's like, Now, here's the thing. Do I ship Wolfwood and Millie after this episode? Absolutely. I feel like he likes her. But do I also still ship him and Vash because he says that Vash and Millie are exactly the same? Yes. We have like a love square going on at this point where I ship like Meryl and Vash and Wolfwood, but Wolfwood and Millie and Meryl. It's just like this little polycube where I'm just shipping them all together. Like I'm shipping everyone in the square with everyone. Why can't we do that? I think we can do that. I can multi-ship. I'm fine with it. But this episode was so cute. And so she gets all the pudding cups and she's like, I played with my big brother. And so we get the idea that Wolfwood is an only child because he says, oh, a brother, huh? Must be nice. Do you have any other siblings? Maybe he has a sister, but... And I like that Millie is she's not bothered by anything that happens to her. Like, she drops the pudding cups and Wolfwood's like, we just got you all those. And she's like, it'll be fine. Like, she's very unbothered by anything that happens to her. But if it's somebody else, she is concerned about them. So we have the dancing girl and them looking for her. And there's something that kind of strikes about Wolfwood. And we should probably put Wolfwood over here, right? And the fact of Wolfwood, and it could be that he's a priest or just his character, is that he is honest. He is honest with his opinion. And the one thing he says there is, it's a very striking difference between him and Vash, because we've talked the last couple episodes about him and Vash are so similar. But Vash seems like he would come out and be forthright in his opinion, but he's really not. He's really quiet, and he doesn't really say what he's actually thinking. He puts on the persona and puts on the happy face, but only a few times you actually see what he's thinking, and Wolfwood's kind of pointed that out. Wolfwood, though, is very upfront, blunt, doesn't really hide what he's feeling. He says it pretty outright. Like, he tells the guy, he's like, yeah, she's right here. Now, I've told you something, now you tell me. Like, he's very forthright in it, right? Which is a difference between him and Vash. And I like that. I like that they're not carbon copies, right? And then, of course, I like the moment the guy smashes the pudding. She's like, you wasted food. How dare you? And, like, kicks them out. So the girl won't exactly explain what's going on, but she needs to get away. And Millie's like, I know how we can solve this. So Millie's pretty resourceful, right? But she has the face like Vash, where she puts on the smile as she's hiding, the girl. And I love the kids like, are you expecting sextuplets? God. Little kids would be brutally honest like that, right? And Wolfwood's just like, oh my God, I have to pretend to be with my pregnant wife here. And it's just Millie. I do wonder if Millie is hiding a lot of pain like Vash is, but I don't think Millie is necessarily. I think she's very optimistic and loves people and life like Vash, but I think Vash obviously has a bigger history and a lot more to hide than Millie does, right? But I love that she's just like, well, we're gonna save this girl, it'll be all right. As he's like, isn't it lovely out today, dear? I love, she's like, no smoking for the baby. Just, God, it's hilarious. I love Millie to pieces. He's like, oh yes, it is, my honey. And she's like, I'm so sorry about this. And he's like, it's all right. Just stay down. And then they keep going. He says, this girl always throws me off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's, different than him. And we'll talk about this. And so we get to Meryl and Vash, who are just like, she's like, it's been ages. Good grief. Meryl doesn't have a lot to do in this episode, but then Vash is called by the guy to go talk to the leader of the caravan. And so then there's Julius. I like Julius. I love her anchor earrings. I love Julius. Looks like the Bishonen protagonist of any shoujo manga, right? It's very cute. And there's the geysers. He's the son of the owner of the transportation company. So here's the thing. We established that Julius, I'm talking about Julius. He is the son of the transportation company owner, who looks nothing like him. And at first I was like, man, them genetics ain't very strong. But we find out he's like a foster son, like an adopted son, which passes through Demislad. And I'm just a simple dancing girl. So Demislad is not just the geyser, it's also the place. Okay. And we find out that not all of the cities are named after months. There are some cities that are named otherwise, and we kind of saw that at the beginning of the series too. And I like Wolfwood. There's a lot of great shots of Wolfwood in this episode that were really, really well done, right? Fondriek. So we have the city of Fondriek. Okay. So we've got the city of Fondriek is where the caravan is headed to, the big city. And then we see the man, the transportation man, he has all the rings on his fingers. He's very coordinated. Like, he has the same rings on each hand, very coordinated. The city transportation needs have been left solely to my caravan. Okay, so all of the needs in transport are with the caravan. Okay. As he's telling Vash, right? And Vash is just listening to it all without saying a word. It's abundant plant production its abundant production plants are guarded so tightly. So this city, okay, that they're heading towards, or that they're in proximity to, the caravan's heading towards, it says abundant production plants that are guarded. Okay, so so far all the plants that we've seen are like just remnants or barely running, and this one supposedly has abundant, but it's a big city, so maybe that's why that I can't even get in without my pass. Okay, and Vash is just sitting there like, production plants. Vash seems to have a connection to those, so we've got that, and that Julius is the quote-unquote pass to get in. This episode's setting up a lot of kind of creepy things, and the idea of people being passes and people being property and people being things that others can own and use. So yeah, I think that is by no coincidence, especially when we know that Vash is a person that has connection to this seemingly inanimate things like the plants and refers to them with like a personification. So there's something there, right? And you're looking for your pass. No, for my son, although he isn't my real son. And that's when Julius is like, he's actually the son of the mayor. I do appreciate that the guy that owns the transportation company, of all the things he does say, he doesn't refer to his son as the pass. He refers to him as his son, which, good for him. And so he says that I myself am the pass, which admits the caravan into Fondrique. And he has like this like tattoo on his arm that is a certain thing. So I'm wondering, does Vash have anything similar to that tattoo? So we have the idea that the pass is a literal tattoo or a marking. So what do we do with that? Is that seems like maybe will be something that will come up later. And Millie's just like, oh God, this is serious. So they're after you and not her. And he's like, that's no reason to run away. And he's like, but we do have a reason. And I do like that Julius looks at more before saying the reason. He's like, we do have a reason to run away. But he looks at her as if asking, is it okay if I talk about this? Like, we're about to talk about something very sensitive. Is it okay if I bring it up? And that's good. Like, good for you, Julius. Like, that's a really nice thing that you did there. Like, good job. And she's like, okay. I said, the day I discovered what the person I thought was my father and my real father had been doing. So basically, like, did he not know that the mayor was his real father until recently? They said that both of them were working in cahoots. Fondrique did use the caravan to import cargo, but not all of it were in boxes. Yeah, some of the cargo were people, right? And then we have the scene where the guy's like, I bought you. You have no choice to come here. And she's like asking for her mom. And then Wolfwood's like, okay. He's like, they treat people like things. That's how they got so rich. So suggesting that it's actually doing human trafficking. That's not just the transport of goods. It's human trafficking that's gotten them so much money. And he's like, that's not right, and I don't want to have it. And Millie's like, yeah, that's horrible. And so Wolf's like, she's the new cargo. And that's why we ran away, to get her, to keep her safe. And he's like, we want to run away from all reality. And you can tell by when he says all reality that Wolfwood kind of has this like look on his face like, that's not possible. You can't run away from all reality. At some point, you're going to have to deal with it, right? So Wolfwood kind of seems like, well, that's good and all. And then we cut immediately to Vash, who's getting asked to bring Julius back. Without him, the trade will cease and the caravan will go under. And he's like, $20 million and I'll do it. So I won't do it for less. So there is this idea that Vash makes an agreement to bring Julius back for $20 million. Okay. To do that, bring it back for $20 million. He'll bring back Julius, right? And then he agrees to go. So then he's like, well, thanks for helping us get out. We go back to Moore and Julius, and Wolfwood's like, no, wait a minute. He's like, they're like, we're gonna go somewhere where we can be free. And I like Millie's like, well, there's no way you can get through that geyser spray. And Wolfwood says if you leave, they lose their contract with the city. And the caravan goes under and everybody dies. Which, I guess if the contract goes under, the caravan's not going to have any money and they're going to, I guess, die is the conclusion that you can make on that. We don't know exactly if that's going to happen. But Wolfwood is basically saying that he kind of brings up the point of saying that Moore's freedom is not as important as that of the caravan. Wolfwood is trying to say the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And the thing that makes it complicated is that, on the surface, of course, right, you'd want to save as many people as you can. But then there's the complication of how many people are complicit in this being a human trafficking thing. How are they profiting off of it? Is it fair that they get to profit and survive by exploiting and hurting another? Does that make that one person's life not matter? And Wolfwood's viewing it as a black and white scenario. There are only two options. Either she goes with us to the city and you guys get passage into there and the caravan's safe, or you guys leave and the caravan dies. Wolfwood's looking at it in very absolute black and white terms, that there is no third option. Whereas Vash comes up with the third option of being like, no, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to kill the pass. And then you guys will get to go in because it won't be the caravan's fault. He didn't run off. I killed him. It's me. I'm the liability. And we go from there. I'm going to say, if you've watched Heaven Official's Blessing or TGCF, that Donghua, I'm going to, compare kind of the third path. It's kind of comparing to Shi Lian's character. Vash is comparing to Shi Lian in this case. He's finding that third option. The problem with the third option, and this becomes apparent in Heaven Official's Blessing as well, is the third option puts Vash at the target and disadvantage. He takes the brunt of everything because now the people are going to blame Vash for everything that's happened. It's going to put more of a target on him, bring more pain and suffering to Vash, but Julius and Moore get out and the caravan's kept safe. So it's very, and Wolfwood's kind of like, well, damn it, you created this third option. And the idea behind it is that Vash is selfless. He doesn't care what happens to him, right? And Millie kind of has the same situation where Millie, she offers to help because she sees that they're in crisis and she's like, I just can't let them go. And Wolfwood, with both Vash and Millie, makes the statement saying that both Millie and Vash remind him of what he hates about himself. That he couldn't do that. He couldn't be selfless in the sense of self-sacrificing to save both sides. He's like, I didn't think of that, and I didn't think that it was possible. Now, the scene where Wolfwood has the gun and is like, you think you're going to sacrifice everybody. Okay, well, if you walk away, prove it. Prove to me that you can walk away and sacrifice yourself and show me what it's like. Because Wolfwood's saying, like, it's easy to make the choice of just running away for your freedom, but putting everyone else in jeopardy. And again, the human trafficking part makes this a lot more complicated because I think it makes it easier for us to say, oh yeah, leave the caravan. They're a bunch of human traffickers. But if that was off the table and it was just you leaving because you wanted to, but it was putting everyone else in danger, it might be a different scenario. Wolfwood's saying, you're willing to just let all these people die and you're going to shoulder the weight of that. Are you okay with that? Do you think you really can go on without that being the case? And he doesn't think it is. And I'm glad he didn't kill himself or try to shoot somebody or anything. I'm glad it was all a fake and it was blanks. But the point he's bringing up is, and I wonder if Wolfwood himself has been in the same situation as Julius, and maybe he chose the same route Julius did and a lot of people did die because of it, and so he's trying to tell Julius, I was in your shoes too, same thing happened with me, you don't want to have the weight of this sin on you too. Like, you know, maybe think about it. You know, I feel like maybe he's trying to tell Julius that. And then, but I can't believe Julius, like, and then that smile when he was like, you're really going to go through with it, huh? And then it's just, it made him flinch and stop. And his smile there, that crooked smile just gets me with Wolfwood's. And Julius is like, thank you. And he's like, what I think you're doing is wrong, but it's your decision to make. And he's like, if you're doing it out of sympathy, don't. And she's like, I just can't let them go. And I love that Wolfwood, he's like, she does everything I can't so easily. It's irritating. Yep. And then I love that. He's like, she does. And he says that they do everything I cannot so easily. Like, yeah, like they're able to help out so easily with others, and I just can't bring myself to do it. I'm like, I love the development we get with Wolfwood and knowing about his character. I love she tries to be nice. Millie does when they're getting rained on by this boiling water. She's like, they say journeys are emotional scars for life. I'm like, that doesn't sound great, Millie. I don't know if that's a great thing. And then I just love that shot of Wolfwood and the two sons with the cigarette slowly fizzling out as they all come to like gather around them. What a great shot. I love it. And then Vash not saying anything as Meryl gets in the car with him to go. I love it. And we cut back to Julius, and Julius saying he wasn't my real father, but I did love him. And he hates that he's doing it. That's why I want him to stop. I don't want to build my happiness on the suffering of others. That's why he's like, I want my dad to quit doing this because it's not right, and I don't want to continue being happy if it means others have to suffer as well. So I love the tension between Meryl and Vash is palpable as they're in the car rattling, and she like tries to grab the key and he shoves her hand away, and she's like, are you going to keep quiet forever? And I love that she's like, I'm going to take precautionary measures. And that's when she puts the gun up next to his head. And she's just like, ugh. And he says, I was ordered to do a kill. And I like that Meryl says, would you mind explaining the entire situation? Like, would you mind doing it? So we do find out at this point, okay? And we do find out that the dad, right? He did want his son to get out of there. So was this the dad's orchestrated? The part I want to go back and hear the ending of is because the dad, the guy that runs the caravan, ordered a kill, which we now know is Julius and more. But was he, I want to go to the ending and see how that ended up, because for a second I was like, how could they get word to the city that how this was all going down, right? Because that doesn't seem like it would be possible. I do like, before we get to that Meryl asks what the situation is. Meryl seems like she acts rashly at first by pulling the gun out on Vash, but then she immediately puts it up and she's like, okay, talk, what's going on? Like, I love that about Meryl. I love that she's cool-headed enough to realize that there's something going on beneath the surface and Vash needs to explain it. Also, her and Vash working together in this, I'm like, what progress? You know, we went from Vash being all by himself and Meryl like tailing him, being like, stop what you're doing, to Vash being like, stay away from me, and her being like, no, to them working side by side together by the end of this episode. I'm like, it's very subtle but progressive character development with the two of them, and I'm kind of here for it. So yeah, so we get to them all showing up, and Wolfwood realizing, he's like, I was infected by your nosiness. I think I actually caught it from him. That was the thing. Like, for most of this episode, I was like, oh, I'm shipping Wolfwood and Millie because of how he feels about her. But then the moment he said, actually, I think I caught it from Vash first, I was like, oh my God, there we go. We're right back to the Vash and Wolfwood ship. Right back to it. All right. This show's not going to let me just ship him and Millie. They're going to make it multi-purpose. And Vash the Stampede. Did my dad hire him? Now, the moment he pulls the gun out and like aims at them, he says, are you quite sane? He says, yes, I swear to God. Which again, because Wolfwood's a priest, Vash is like, I swear to God, I'm being serious. Just let me do this. Don't interfere. And I feel like at that moment, Wolfwood's like, okay, I'm going to trust him because he's being so serious and trying to like give me the hints, right? But for a second, I was like, surely he's not going to kill him. But then when he fires the gun at Julius and it hits him, there wasn't any blood. And at that point, when there was no blood, I was like, okay, this show has not been afraid to show us blood. So if it's not showing us any blood at this moment, then we're probably fine. And then poor Millie, like, your boss hired me to stop them. And so I have. He's like, just drop the money and run. And they all dropped the money and run, which, you know, good for them. Good. Vash got lucky that they took him seriously and vamooshed and left the money there, because if they hadn't, things might have gone a little bit south. And then Millie walking up and just punching him in the face. She says, Mr. Vash, how could you? How could you? And then I like that he just takes it, like, yep. And Wolfwood stepped on his glasses! Wolfwood stepped on his good glasses! I'm like, what's he gonna do now? He's gonna find another pair, unless he has spares, like his jacket or something. How could you do such a horrible thing? And she's like crying, and he just let her punch him. I like at the end he has like the bag of ice up on his face from where Millie punched him. And then Meryl's like, Millie, sweetheart. She's like, we need to tell you, this is all part of an act. And then Millie like goes to cry with Meryl. She's like, they're gone. And Wolfwood's like, she's like, they're both dead. And I like that Vash reaches for his glasses and Wolfwood steps on him. He's like, do you want to settle what we started in May City? And he takes the gun and then looks at the bullets and realizes they're rubber. That was a realistic performance. Do you normally kill with these? And then he fires them at Vash. Yeah, I love it. I love that Vash is like, well, he's like, don't fire so close. That stings. And when the geyser disappears, that's when Millie sees that they're both safe. I'm like, how'd they know that cruiser was over there, right? And then Millie, of course, she's, you know, I just want to thank you guys for being alive first. And so Meryl says, what do they say here? I want to go back and reread this. I have a message from your father. He says he's sorry for deceiving you. And it's no excuse, but he did it to protect you and the caravan. Okay. So the dad was responsible. Oh. He says you guys are free to go. So the dad that ran the caravan did love, he wasn't, not the biological father, but the caravan guy, he did love his son and realized what his son was doing and let him go with the girl. And then used Vash as the third option, or Vash talked about it being the third option, and then used that to let them get away and tell the city, Vash killed our key, what do we do? So it makes it sound like, because the boy said he didn't really know his biological father until recently when he found out he was the pass. So he's grown up with the fake dad that runs the caravan all this time. And that should have been a clue back when we had the guy saying he was like, oh, I want my son, not the pass, right? So, I mean, on the one hand, cool for the dad for getting his son and more out of there. Good for him. Good for him giving the 20 million so they could go. It didn't look like they took it with them anyway. I would have taken it with me. I would have taken it with me and been like, thank you, Mr. Vash. We'll need this as we comb through the desert alone, you know. But on the one hand, that's very sweet. But then on the other hand, I'm kind of like, you know, are they going to stop human trafficking now that the sun is gone? What are we going to do about that? Is that going to stop all the problems? It seems like a slightly convenient ending of the episode, and I feel like the show is just tiptoeing into darker waters, and they're like, see how this could have gotten really dark? Well, we're just gonna rein it back just a little bit. We're gonna rein it back and have a happy ending. But maybe in the future, things are gonna have a happy ending, and then what are we gonna do, you know? So I'm a little bit like they played it safe this episode, and that makes more sense now at the end of how they escaped. But they're like, we're not going to rely on anyone but each other. And Millie's like, you guys are dumb. And then Wolfwood's like, your name is being spread across the planet. Like, are you happy with this? Maybe this is what they call karma. Not really. And then Millie waving her hand, like crying for them. And then Vash says, she's a good girl, isn't she? And Wolfwood says, she's so good. Aww. You're just like her. I love it. I love setting up Millie and Vash with Wolfwood. Yes. Yep. And so the caravan moves on, and Millie's like, what, he left? Wolfwood left? And Veryl's like, all journeys come with meetings and partings and reunions. Meaning, like, we're going to see Wolfwood again. We're going to see him again at some point. We're just not going to see him for a while. She's like, that's true. And Vash looks so sad to see Wolfwood go. Vash seems very sad that his friend has left. Right? It's like, I've got things to do, so I'll be going now. Will I see you again? I don't know. Whenever I look at you, I'm reminded of everything I hate about myself. That Wolfwood's like, I can't be brave enough to do the selfless thing. I can't be selfless enough to do the third path. He's like, that's just not something I can do right now. And he's like, I need to go do some soul searching on my badass motorcycle and think about what to do. He says it hurts. Nicholas D. Wolfwood. I'm like, look at Vash with his face of longing as he thinks about Wolfwood. Like, come on, show. You're not fooling anybody. But yeah, Wolfwood's gonna go do some soul searching, like you do. Do some soul searching on his motorcycle. How badass is that? He got his bike fixed. That's good. Well, he had to have had it because he was traveling without them at the beginning of the episode, but look, that bike has more crosses on it. What a badass motorcycle. And his glass says, I'll be darned. There was another answer after all. Yep, Vash the Stampede. Oh, Vash being that third answer. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, I'm really excited about the prospect of where this series is going. It's, again, like flirting with these darker themes in this episode, but played it a little bit safe. Played it a little bit safe. Didn't let us have a sad ending, right? Had to let Romeo and Juliet not die like the Shakespearean play. Had to let them go. But I'm really curious now. I'm sad that Wolfwood is gone. I feel like Wolfwood's going to come back later on, but we've got an episode before the halfway point. So I'm going to be curious to know, like now that Wolfwood was a good balance for Vash, Millie, and Meryl. So now that he's gone, I'm like, Vash is going to get in trouble, right? Because Wolfwood's not going to be there to kind of be a buffer. So what's that going to be like? But, I'm curious, y'all, what's going to happen. I hope you all are too. But I'm excited if you have any comments about this episode. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I'll be back very soon with more Trigun.